Brian, obviously, ultimately trading Kevin. What ultimately led you guys to making that decision to move forward without Kevin and make that trade?
Well, we were in contact with Kevin and his team during the whole time, and our biggest thing was to number one goal was to find a way to bring in the valuable pieces that would help us continue to move forward in the right direction. That was our number one goal in the whole thing. And with the trade came the draft picks, and also brought in one of the rising stars in the NBA in Jalen, and with Dillon, just a winner. Brings the toughness and the grit, defensive intensity. Had his best offensive year of his career last year. So the team got together at the end and felt pretty good about what transpired. And I've talked about Kevin at length, the respect I have for him in my 2 years previous, just the relationship and the way he treated me and his professional approach every day. But that was kind of the game plan there.
What was it like to be a first-time GM and be a part of such a huge 7 teams?
Biggest trade in the history of the NBA. Yeah, it took about 3 days to figure it out once it all got out there. But things just kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. Obviously, we were pretty focused on our part of it. And Matt Tellem, who handles all the financial pieces and all those different things, did a great job on that. But again, I think one of the things that I talked about, after the draft, and I'll continue to talk about, was that we've kind of made a change, and we're a team working together in a lot of this stuff. And you can't pull off something like that. You can't execute the game plan we had heading into the draft days, day 1 and 2, without everybody working together on the same page and the communication. At times, I'm the one who ends up at the end executing it, but there's a lot of work that goes in before, and I think it's that system, that process has worked out pretty well over the last 5 or 6 weeks.
So the reason I asked is because it just felt like, when you talk about game plan, was it more of, okay, if we get this player, then we'll go this direction, and then another area. If we don't get this player, how much of it was following a plan as opposed to reacting to something and then going somewhere else?
Well, I think you whenever you're talking about drafts or trades, you have a game plan in place. But there are times where you may have to pivot. You know what I mean? But the most important thing is we always create a threshold of what where we want to be at and what's acceptable for us to move forward, and it always has to be a positive impact on the organization or the team, and I thought we accomplished that.
You've changed the roster pretty significantly. Are you happy or comfortable where you guys are right now?
Yeah, I'm very happy. You look at it, the game has changed. We talked about that during my press conference, during the coach's press conference. We are bigger, we're longer, more athletic. I think we'll be able to play faster. I think defensively we have a chance to become very, very good. Some of it will be time, because there are some younger guys on the roster now. But I think when you look at the 3 guys who we just drafted, and you add Collin, Oso, and Ryan into that mix, you throw Jalen in there, you throw Dillon in there, all new guys, Mark Williams in there. How the team looks has changed. How I think we can play will change as well.
You mentioned Jalen as one of the rising stars in the league. Obviously, he's another kind of 2 guard who likes to operate with the ball in his hands. How do you feel about the potential fit with him and Book in the same backcourt?
Well, I think we'll be really fast. You know what I mean? And the game is played at a faster pace. And the ability to attack and get downhill is something he does exceptionally well. Had his best 3-point shooting year of his career last year. He's 23 years old, going to be 24. I think the sky's the limit for him, and I think him and Book being able to man that backcourt together in a lot of instances and the pace that they're able to play with and playing off each other. Obviously, I think there's going to be greater movement, cutting, open opportunities for downhill drives. I mentioned it, after the draft, we did not attack the rim very well last year. It's an area we have to get better at. You do it 3 specific ways, on the drive, on the cut, a big man getting the ball in the post area, which doesn't happen all that often anymore. And then the effort way you do it is on the offensive glass. I think Jalen on those first 2 is going to be really, really good.
When you made the Mark Williams trade, we couldn't talk about it last time we spoke.
Yeah.
But what was the
You
timing?
tried. You guys, all right, someone tried.
Someone tried.
Someone tried.
But when we spoke about it, what was the timing of that like? Because, from the outside, it felt like the Mark Williams trade and then Maluach was available quickly after, but obviously you guys are having these conversations behind the scenes. So how did that kind of unfold, and what do you think about being able to add 2 younger centers like that?
Well, when we saw the opportunity to do both, for us, we were like, we have to do it, because I talked about we were very poor at protecting the rim last year. Now you should be able to have, full game where there's protection of the rim. Even if you go, smaller at the 5, I think if you saw Oso out there, the weight he's gained, the strength he's gained, he's going to be better defensively around the basket this year. That's a key. The game, so much of it is offensively attacking the rim, getting to the rim, scoring those baskets at the rim or creating that kick-out option, and then protecting the rim. Because the better you protect the rim, the more you can pressure on the perimeter. So to get both those guys, we weren't passing that up. I thought that was, again, we discussed it. The first opportunity came, then the draft pick came. So we were very happy with that.
Was the plan to always try and get both, or was that something that kind of revealed itself as it started to happen?
We had the trade from Mark started to happen. Khaman was number 1 on our list at 10 if available. So I'm not sure, a week before we thought that was going to be, but as we progressed through the first day of the draft, it became more of a reality, and we made the decision to go for it.
Did Mark's injury history give you pause at all?
Well, I think always when a young player at, again, 23 years old has had those injury issues, you take a look back and you say, okay, do we have the things in place that can help him? Do we have the resources and tools and personnel that can put him in a better position where his body is able to recover from any previous injuries and the prevention of other ones? So obviously it's talked about and discussed, but we felt pretty confident in our environment, with him in our environment, that we can get him healthy and then he can play the way he's capable of playing on a more consistent basis. You look at the last part of the season, he was tremendous. You know what I mean? So I think that gave us cause to say, okay, with our medical group, which is as good as anybody's around, and their commitment level is probably even better, we felt very comfortable with that.
Brian, when you look at just, obviously, with Brad, I know that you have a lot of respect for Brad and what he brought to the group, but clearly it seems as if you guys are going to go separate ways. So I'm curious how you're viewing him now with the situation with the team.
Well, my view of Brad will never change, and I appreciate that question. But again, we're with negotiations and contract stuff. We just don't talk about the players. But your first point is true, and that will never change. It's just not who we are as an organization. When it comes to people.
When you've been able, I want to re-ask about the roster. When going through this for the first time as a GM, what are things that now you're looking at in terms of trying to get under the second apron? And like, there's a lot of things that have to be on the mind. So how have you been able to weave through that and addressing issues? But there's a lot of issues, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the last 2 years has helped me. If you were just thrown into this, I think it would be, more difficult. But to be able to slow roll into that experience and really kind of learn over the last 2 years has helped. There's a lot of different things. 30 years of coaching, and as a head coach, being the CEO, the GM, the head coach, the academic advisor, all those different things. There's a lot of stuff you got to do. Yeah, you know what I mean? And this is about leadership. This is about building the right relationships, and it's about having great people on the team. And with the day in and day out connection that I have, not only with Josh Bartlow's team, but Matt Tellem, Arande Telefero, we have a pretty good team assembled here.
When you look at bringing Collin back and going out and getting Nigel, how much do those two guys kind of address specific needs that you had for kind of a traditional point guard and maybe another wing with size and experience?
Well, I think everybody would evaluate Collin and the way he played in the second half of the year as someone who deserved to be on this team. He earned it, no question about it. And he gave us a lot. He gave us a lot at the point guard spot. But he also gave us a lot in everything that we've been talking about, the grit, the toughness, the first on the floor mentality, the great leadership he provides every single day. So I do think that there's a need. There was a need, and he filled it. And so we were happy with that. And then, we've been really high on Nigel for a while. Can't. You just got me in trouble. Erase that. Erase that. Off the record. 5 minutes ago you said you would never do that, and you just did it.
I'll delete the footage.
Just did it.
Brian, there was so much excitement when Kevin came, when Brad came, and the trio with Devin. Is there a lesson from that experience, or is it just sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you had hoped?
With the first trade and the second trade, you're trying to win championships, as we stated, and we were not able to accomplish that. So you have to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what's next? What do we need to do? And we felt that we needed to make some changes, and that's where the trade with Kevin occurred.
Not to get you in trouble, but what do you like about Nigel's game?
I can't talk about it.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not. It isn't official yet. So guy keeps pushing it.
Yeah.
Keeps pushing it.
With Beal, I think it's fair to say that pairing with Booker hasn't worked out as intended. What are the reasons that you guys believe Jalen and Booker will be different?
Well, I'll just talk about Jalen and Booker. Again, as I mentioned, I think there's a speed factor that's being played in the NBA right now. They're both great with the ball. I think they can play off each other when they don't have the ball. I think our style of playing at a faster pace with better movement, is going to open up the court for both of them. And I do think that you're going to see our ability on the defensive end with more perimeter pressure, that both those guys will really, their ability off the ball, as other guys are pressuring the ball, to play passing lanes and to read things. They both have unbelievable anticipatory skills defensively. And I think they're going to be really, really good in that. So I think you're going to see them play well together, not only on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end.
Brian, if you don't mind, if I just have one more question. Do you think you got enough for the Durant trade, or do you think you could have gotten more?
We're very pleased with where we ended up at the end of that trade. Very pleased.
Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.